Oh, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Bellevue. I was having so much fun looking at the photographs of our community that I got completely distracted. And it seems like a long time since I saw y'all. Hey, I am Reverend Marla Mason. Welcome to Unity of Bellevue. This is the place where we know and we practice the spiritual truth that God is good and all is well. We are about waking up to this truth. We are about becoming more and more aware all the time of who we are, what we belong to, and what we've come here to do. And we have this idea about that. We have this idea that we've come here to love God. We've come here to love one another. We've come here to grow in our spiritual understanding. And we've come here to serve the greater good from that place of love and wisdom and understanding. So that's a little bit about who we are. You can find out more about us on our website or talk to one of the folks that you see in service today. And speaking of these folks, I want to tell you who they are. This is a great day in the life of our community. Let's start with Susan Neidig, who gave us a beautiful meditation service this morning. Thank you, Susan. That was just exactly what Spirit prescribed for me. It was just what I needed. Peace, be still. So thank you for that beautiful meditation service, Susan. Susan is one of our prayer chaplains today. She is serving as prayer chaplain with Lori Coleman. Thank you, both of you, Lori and Susan. They'll be leading the prayer circle after the service, so stick around. It starts about 3 minutes after we complete today. Stick around and you can have a chance to make a prayer request or pray with Susan and Lori. We also have today our board host, Rita Schwarting. She will be hosting our offering today, so you'll hear a little bit more about her later. You know, Rita's been around this community for a super long time. Give her thanks for all the beauty and all the good that she brings to this spiritual community. Our producer today is Monica McDowell Elvig. She's our producer all week long. During the week, we call her administrator. On the weekends, we call her producer. Thank you, Monica, for all the gifts that you bring to our spiritual community. We have a really special guest speaker today. You're going to be hearing more from her in a little bit, but for now, know that Reverend Karen Frost is joining us today. She is the co-founder and the senior minister of Spirit Uncensored. Boy, I like that idea. Spirit Uncensored, where love is their religion, right? That sounds even better to me. Thank you, Reverend Karen. You know, she launched the Best Day Ever movement in 2021. She's a powerful human being. I've seen her speak before, and we're really grateful to welcome her to Unity of Bellevue. Thank you for joining us today. You'll hear a bit more from her. Well, you'll hear a lot more from her, and you'll be blessed by that here in a little bit. I also want to welcome virtually, it's kind of funny, we have a second level of virtuality here. Our guest artist today is Reverend Kit Holmes, and she graciously provided videos for us today because she's serving elsewhere this morning. Reverend Kit is a newly minted reverend. She passed her ministerial panel on September 6th. And so give thanks for her. She is a rock star and a beautiful human being. She's a singer, she's a songwriter. She talks, she says she's a musical storyteller, and that makes so much sense to me. Until recently, she was the associate spiritual leader and the music director at Unity of Wimberley, Texas, and she just moved to Michigan. So we will welcome her remotely and know that we are super blessed by her presence today as well. And so we have one of beloved Reverend Kit's videos, and Monica is going to kick us off with that.
Love lives in me, love moves through me, love expresses as me. Love lives in me, love moves through me, love expresses as me. Peace lives in me, peace moves through me, peace expresses as me. Peace lives in me, peace moves through me, peace expresses expresses as me. Power lives in me, power moves through me, power expresses as me. Love lives in me, love moves through me, love expresses as me. Love lives in me, love moves through me, love expresses as me, as me, as me.
And so just breathe that in for a moment. Fully own this truth that we are expressions, divine expressions of love, of peace, of power, of joy. And we allow ourselves to be lifted right now in our conscious awareness of this truth. We belong to something greater than we are, and we say yes to that expanding awareness. Love lives in me, peace lives in me, power lives as me, joy animates my very being. And so as we anchor in this truth, we recognize our oneness with the infinite. And we recognize that we have been called together this morning by divine appointment to do a great and mighty work together. And so we open our hearts, we open our minds, and prepare to be lifted, to be inspired, to learn, to grow, to build greater spiritual community together this morning. And we know that we are blessed by all that unfolds here today. Something wonderful is happening, and we are wonderful parts of it. And so I open this gathering with a grateful heart, calling it good and very, very good. And I let it go and let it be. And so it is. Amen. I'm going to read through today's affirmation one time. As I do that, I invite you to just breathe it in. Just own it as though it were already true, because it is. So let the one who has ears to hear, right? Have the ears to hear, put on the ears to hear these powerful words of truth. As I fall upward into a greater awareness of unity and oneness, I embody divine intention and loving consciousness. Life is good and I am grateful. And so it is. Breathing it in. Feeling every cell in your body come alive with this truth, with these words. And I invite you to now speak these words aloud with me with conviction. As I fall upward into a greater awareness of unity and oneness, I embody divine intention and loving consciousness. Life is good and I am grateful, and so it is.
It was another lousy day at work, so at lunch I took a drive to figure out just how it was that all my dreams had died. Down a red dirt road was an old wooden church on the edge of a cotton field. A big old ancient oak tree waving to me in the breeze. So I pulled up right next to it, pleased with the choice I'd made. I was gonna find some peace, by God, in that tree's majestic shade. I didn't expect what I heard next, since I thought I was alone. Gentle voice said, "I'm so glad you found your way back home." And it said, "The answer you're looking for is right inside your heart. Why not try to open it wide? You'll find a brand new place to start." All I know is time won't wait. It slips like water through your hands, and You should know that it's not too late to make a change in plans. It's all I know. So I'm staring at this old woman. She was about as old as that old tree. Amazing fire was in her eyes. She was staring back at me. I asked her where she came from and if I'd lost my sanity. She said, honey, when you ask for help, you ended up with me. The answer you're looking for is right inside your heart. Why not try to open it wide? You'll find a brand new place to start. All I know is time won't wait. It slips like water through your hands. And you should know that it's not too late to make a change in plans. It's all I know. So I woke up under that sprawling oak as day turned into night. A gentle breeze had spread the leaves and a single ray of light became that woman's smile as she disappeared from sight. How else could I thank her but to act on her advice? The answer I was looking for was in my heart, it's true. I changed my plans and here I am, singing all my songs for you. And all I know is time won't wait. It slips like water through your hands. You should know that it's never too late to make a change in plans. It's all I know. It's all I know. It's all I know.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Reverend Karen Frost, and I am so grateful to be here today. It may not be morning for some of you. I feel like one of the values of this experience, of this global shift that we are participating in, is that we get this opportunity to connect with people all over the country. And to be honest, I have never been to Seattle. I've never even been to the Pacific Northwest. So having this opportunity to visit you all virtually is a great entree, and hopefully you like me and I'll be able to come back in real life in Seattle and have like a good reason to go to Seattle. I have so many friends there. I've heard wonderful things about Seattle and the Pacific Northwest, and I definitely want to make a trip there at some point in my life. And I'm at a really interesting place in my life. I want to give you an overview of who I am, how I got here, and also talk about that in relationship to this concept of reaching higher that I wanted to introduce to you all today. And I'll start by acknowledging where the inspiration for the theme of reaching higher came from for me. As Reverend Marla mentioned, I am a Center for Spiritual Living minister, and the Center for Spiritual Living uses a theme, a global theme that they come up with a year in advance. And in fact, as I'm actually an affiliated minister with the Centers for Spiritual Living. As Reverend Marla mentioned, I really do live my life with love as a religion. So it isn't as if I felt like I had any one allegiance to any one New Thought organization over another one. In fact, the only reason why I'm a Centers for Spiritual Living minister is because it's the one that I found first. I heard about Unity much further into, I'd taken some classes and had a community. And so, at that point, I'd always known where it was that I wanted to go. And when I started for the Centers for Spiritual Living in Chicago, I did not know there was a Unity in Chicago. I heard some great things about it, but never made it there. And then when I moved to Los Angeles from Chicago, there were so many centers for spiritual living. I'd come from a city where there was one, and then I moved to a city where there were like 35. So the opportunity to go church shopping was super exciting for me. So I never got an opportunity to visit one. Hint, hint, invite me to come back and see you in Seattle, because I definitely do want to visit a Unity at some point in my life. So this concept of living life with love as my religion has completely driven me. And I can't say that even where did I hear it? Where did it come from? I can't even tell you the moment that sparked that made me say, oh yes, that's me. Actually, I do know. Now that I think about it, it was Facebook. As a millennial, I definitely have been inspired by social media significantly. And there was this meme very early in the Facebook days. It was something like Facebook came out around, in my life, I would say around 2003, 2004, or something like that. And there was a meme that said, Jesus was not a Christian, Buddha was not a Buddhist, love is their religion. I'm sure you all have seen this, because like I said, Facebook has been around for a while, social media has been around for a while, but that was my first introduction to that idea of how every spiritual leader in history has lived their life from love as a religion. And at that point in my life, I didn't have any sort of spiritual community at all whatsoever, but I was interested in having spiritual community. And personally, I grew up in a interfaith household. My father was raised in the Jewish faith. My mother was raised in the Christian faith. And fun fact, my mother ended up converting to Judaism, and my father's family has Christian ministers in it. So the experience of just the interfaith life that I was already living, it was important to me to, one, understand what spirit meant for me and to have my own idea of what spirit is, while at the same time feel that every space that I'm ever in, every spiritual space that I'm ever in, it was always important to me that everyone is welcome. And I have this t-shirt that says praise well with others that completely resonates. Yeah, when I saw this t-shirt, I had to get it because it really corresponded with that idea to me of living life with love as a religion. And so that before I even thought about spirituality, I shouldn't say before I thought about spirituality, because I think, for many of us, the concept of God is always present in our lives, whether we choose to acknowledge its presence or not, it is always present. And for me, I was always interested. I was curious in the idea of exploring what God meant, but I didn't have any clear answers by 11 years old, because why would I? How would I have all of the secrets to life by 11? But what I did know was that this cross-cultural experience of being both mixed race in the world and also having the opportunity to grow up with multiple faiths in my home, I recognized that my perspective was valuable. And as we've been talking about with this theme of the day of living from a place of peace, I felt as if I understood how Jews and Christians could coexist peacefully in the same home, and how Black and white people, Black and white families can come together and coexist peacefully in the same family. And I felt like that perspective that I had value, and I wanted to share that. So at 11 years old, I learned about Norman Lear as a TV producer. He's the one who produced Good Times and All in the Family and Maude. He was this groundbreaking TV producer that I'm sure many of you have at least seen one episode of a Norman Lear show. And on top of his success as a producer, he spoke about social issues that were happening in the country in a way that was entertaining, in a way that people wanted to talk about, in a way that changed hearts and changed lives. And I was doing a history fair project on the history of television in 6th grade. And that was how I discovered the work of Norman Lear and did a deep dive. Anytime I could find an episode of a Norman Lear show, and this was in the days before YouTube, so I just kind of had to scour the TV guide and see what Norman Lear shows were running on the networks that ran reruns, and ate it all up to the best of my ability. Really did my best to really understand as an 11-year-old of what was happening in the world before I was born, and how this comedy made an impact on that time, and how I was living a life of safety because of my mixed race identity that the shifts that Norman Lear had a hand in America made the world a safer place for me to live in. And that experience was not lost on me. And so at 11 years old, I became very clear that television is the industry that I wanted to work in. I wanted to follow in Norman Lear's footsteps. And I had no idea of how to go about doing that. How does one become a super producer who is able to produce comedies all over ABC? How does one do that? There was, even when Google came around, Google was invented after I was 11. But once Google came around, when I Googled, how do I become the next Norman Lear? That answer was not available in Google. It's still not available in Google. And I've been on this journey of discovering my voice, just recognizing that my decision to live life with love as a religion, I get to use the power of story to inspire others to do the same. But the question becomes, how? How do I do that? So that's what brought me to the Centers for Spiritual Living, because I had, at this point in my life, I believe I was 28. Barack Obama was running for president against John McCain, and I was living in Chicago. And at the time, this was 2008, that there was a significant economic shift. Just like in some ways we're experiencing a significant economic shift as well. And there was this big shift where the company that I was working for ended up, all of our clients lost their jobs. And as a result, it didn't make sense for the company to stay open. And it was an opportunity for me to reach higher. And so what I did was I Googled spirituality in Chicago, and unfortunately Unity did not come up, which is why I didn't go there. The Centers for Spiritual Living in Chicago is what came up. It makes sense. Spiritual Chicago, Unity Chicago. I didn't even think to put those terms into the search engine in Google at that time. And so I discovered a trans-denominational community. That's how it was described. And at the time that I started in the Centers for Spiritual Living, I should say specifically the center that I went into, which was the Bodhi Spiritual Center that just closed recently in Chicago. That center in particular didn't focus too much on Ernest Holmes. It was really about the message of the minister was very similar. His speaking style was very similar to mine. In fact, I feel like that's where mine came from, where he would talk about, he didn't specifically say that he lived his life with love as a religion, but he talked about spiritual themes, spiritual principles, and how he applied it to his life. And listening to these messages on Sunday inspired me to apply these messages to my own life. And so what the Centers for Spiritual Living uses these themes to make it easy for ministers across the world to be able to say, we're just going to decide this is what the theme is. And they put out an outline. There are ministers and practitioners that are invited to help write an outline for practitioners and ministers across the country to use as a reference. And so for September, the theme is reaching higher. And through my work in the United Life Center for Spiritual Living in Oklahoma City, and also my work as a senior minister for Spirit Uncensored, I just use the theme, I apply the theme. And that experience of me leaning into the theme was incredibly organic. I was invited to participate in the themes. Honestly, I hadn't even paid attention to the fact that Centers for Spiritual Living was even doing this until somebody emailed me and said, would you write the theme? Here are the themes for the year. Pick one and write it. And so the theme I chose was the soul's call to freedom. And that was in June 28th is when that theme was set. And so I wrote it in 2020 while we were at the very beginning of a global pandemic. I was working virtually, providing prayer online on Facebook and Instagram every day, and wrote this theme. I couldn't even tell you what inspired it because it was a year ago and I was doing something else, and we were having a significant conversation about race at the time. And so I don't know, I wrote what I wrote, but as things work, as spirit works, the thing that I wrote for last year ended up being incredibly important to me once it dropped in 2021. So I was, as I said, aspiring to be a super TV producer, wanted to produce the comedies that changed the world. And at the time, as of 2020, when I wrote the Souls Call to Freedom theme, I was working as a TV executive for Viola Davis's production company. And that job was a dream come true. It was yes, it was not Norman Lear. However, no, I was not the person who was literally writing the stories. However, what I got to do is work with a variety of talented producers and writers and talent like Viola Davis to craft and put together the TV show. So I wasn't the one who was actually going to be writing the TV shows, but I was working with a variety of producers and talent to help put a show together, develop a show, and pitch a show to get onto television. And I had so much creative freedom in the job that I was my boss, the head of television, was fully supportive of everything that I did. He always encouraged me to step outside of my comfort zone. I got to make mistakes. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the movie Wrinkle in Time that stars Storm Reed. And Storm Reed came in and pitched a TV show to us. And I said, what if it was a musical? And Storm hated that question so much that she never wanted to work with us again. And I appreciate the fact that my boss said, hey, that question rubbed her the wrong way. And the way that I chose to react to that was to shrink in meetings and not ask questions and not want to rub anyone the wrong way. And then my boss came back to me and said, I noticed you've been quiet in meetings. What's going on? And I told him my truth. And he said, that's not why I gave you that feedback. I gave you that feedback so that you would know. It was not for you to change your behavior. Know that sometimes you're going to say something that's going to rub somebody the wrong way. And all you did was your best. So I worked in a company that no one in Hollywood would ever dream existed. The fact that it was incredibly diverse. And if you know anything about Viola Davis as an actress, have ever read an interview from her, she is exactly the person that you would hope she would be. And I know working in Hollywood, there are all of these things, they say never meet your heroes. But I can honestly say that because I live life with love as my religion, the heroes that I am drawn to, I think there's something about their energy that I can tell that they are the kind of people that I should have reverence for. And as I meet them in real life, they fully exceed my expectations. Viola truly inspired me to lean into my experience of my voice, using my voice in ways that I never have before. In fact, the tagline for this company is creating serving as a voice for the voiceless. That is what we did as a production company. So in many ways, though it was not the Norman Lear intention that I'd had in mind, I was living my best life, living my truth, and enjoying what was happening. And so this experience of the global pandemic shifted things in my life, right? Shifted things in all of our lives, right? Like we all had our standard, and the life that I was living at the time that the pandemic began, I was happily married for 9 years in my dream job, and also had been actively working on still continuing on my dream to become a TV writer. My boss, the head of TV, would read every draft of every script I ever wrote and gave me significant notes. In fact, he just sent me notes on a script just on Friday. So continues to be in my life, regardless of the fact that I'm no longer at this company. And so I had all of the mentors and resources and love and joy in my life that I would have never anticipated. And to be honest, the only reason that I'm a minister is because I was taking classes trying to figure out how spirituality works. I didn't do it for the world. I did it for me. But the moment that I became a minister and was out being a TV executive in the world, people were saying, how do I learn how to do this? How do I learn how to live love as a religion? And I didn't have a book. And so I thought, okay, let me create a monthly service. That's how Spirit Uncensored started. Let me create a monthly service where I can tell you how I live love as a religion and create this interactive space for other people to participate in how they live their lives with love as a religion. We call it a spiritual playground. I say that I invite people to come play church with me. So I was doing that. Spirit Uncensored was doing really well. The transition from live to remote actually worked a lot better for me. It was much easier to lead board meetings from my living room and create services from my living room than have to pay rent and hire musicians and all of that jazz. I was able to work it out where everything was going well. And the other, for me, the shift of being able to work remotely made it so that I had more time in my day than ever before. And so I leaned into a meditation practice unlike I had ever had, because like I said, I became a minister for me. And so my relationship to meditation had always been a should. People would say, because I'm a minister, I should be meditating. And I didn't honestly get that much out of it. And so I wasn't committed to a meditation practice in the way that I should have been. But now that I had time, now that I no longer had a commute through the Los Angeles, San Fernando Valley to Burbank every day, and had an opportunity to have all of my meetings accessible from my laptop, I had more time to meditate than ever before. And I'm sure many of you have heard that adage of, if you don't have time to meditate for 20 minutes, meditate for an hour. Now I had time to meditate for an hour every single day. And that's what I started doing. Reaching Higher for me in 2020 was about taking advantage of the fact that I had more time to dedicate to spiritual practice. And so deepened my meditation practice. And once I started meditating for an hour, I learned a whole lot about myself that I had not at all anticipated. I thought I was living my best life. I thought the life that I was living was a life of joy. And through meditation, I discovered that there was a lot more for me out there that I was afraid to embrace, that there were many, many reasons for why I wasn't willing to face my truth. But as I said, that conversation about race that we had in America that really sparked with George Floyd's death last year really created a shift in me and helped me see the challenges that I've experienced as a Black woman that I wasn't willing to look at. I often talk about my experience as a half Black, half Jewish lesbian and the complicated experience of that identity, of being an American within that identity. And I feel like I've done a lot of healing work around many slices of my identity, but my Black identity is something that I wear, that my lesbian identity, I can walk into a room and no one is going to know definitively, oh, that girl's a lesbian. When I walk into a room, no one's going to say, oh yeah, I could tell she's a New Thought minister. That is not anything that anyone knows about me. And so many of my identities are invisible. People can't tell from looking at me that I'm half Jewish. So many of my identities are invisible that my Black identity was the most visible. And I never really took the time to acknowledge how that feels for me. And while I had an opportunity to meditate for an hour, while I was working for a Black woman who really represented the Black community in a way that I was not capable of doing at the time, I was suddenly inspired to be better. I wanted to reach higher. And I realized that was work that I couldn't do overnight. 1 hour of meditation was not going to fully heal the experience of what I had going on in my life. And so I simply chose to be present and allow for that shift and allow for that healing to occur. And in that experience, that healing journey that I took place in, what occurred is that I started to recognize that it was time for me to reach higher than I was more comfortable doing. And what that meant for me was that I needed to leave a job that I loved. And what that meant for me is that I had to really listen to my intuition tell me that regardless of the fact that I was in a happy marriage, it was a marriage that no longer served me and that it was time to leave. And so in May of 2021, I listened to my intuition and moved to Oklahoma City. I couldn't even tell you what it was that inspired me to move to Oklahoma City. I was here for graduation. And when I arrived, it was my first time here. When I arrived, I was clear that I heard Spirit tell me this is what I need to do. I need to leave my marriage and live in Oklahoma City. And the moment that I came home from Oklahoma City, the first thing that my wife said to me was that while I was gone, she realized that she didn't want to be in this marriage anymore. And so the two of us chose to consciously uncouple very easily and very peacefully. And I got in the car and I moved to Oklahoma City, fully trusting Spirit. And so yesterday, I started a foundations class. It was September 11th that I started a foundations class, and it was my very first class that I've ever taught. And all of us went around the room talking about what our relationship and our experience to 9/11 was. And having this conversation in Oklahoma, what the conversation ended up being about was how each person in the room had been directly affected by the Oklahoma City bombing. And I'm new to Oklahoma. I'm new to the experience of having an act of violence occur in the city that you live, a significant act of violence that really shakes the core of the community and shakes the hearts of the people. And in my experience in Oklahoma, a lot of people talk about the Oklahoma City bombing, where they were, how it impacted them, and there is a lot of trauma being discussed around that, just as there's a lot of trauma being discussed around the experience of September 11th. And one of the beautiful things that I've been able to witness from being here is how each one of these people is committed to their own experience of healing, that they recognize that it is their responsibility to acknowledge the trauma, to heal the trauma, and to serve as a space and a voice for light and love in the world. And so while I'm in this place of being newly divorced and in a city where I only knew one other person, I knew one family, they were who brought me to Oklahoma City to begin with. I've been in this place of being inspired to reach higher in my own experience of ministry, of knowing that what I am here to do is to inspire each person to live their life with love as a religion, regardless of what is happening in the world, regardless of the trauma that they are experiencing, regardless of the trauma that's occurring in the community. And I'm grateful that Mandy actively chose to bring September 11th into this conversation here today in the Zoom chat, where she said, I want to acknowledge that we just observed September 11th. The loss of lives, the grief of families, and the collective trauma greatly impacted the shape of our world and sense of safety. I prayed yesterday for love and grace. So in this, with that invitation, as Mandy has inspired us to bring our attention and our awareness to love and grace, I want to invite all of us to bring our attention and our awareness to the experience of love and grace, to know that wherever we are in our healing journey, to know that wherever we are in our experience of identifying trauma, looking at trauma, that we understand that this is work that cannot be done overnight, that sometimes the experience of trauma is going to inspire us to make a shift in our life that scares us. Maybe Spirit is inspiring us to nudge us to do something that sounds crazy. But what each one of us is here to do, living life with love as a religion, as I know you all do, is to understand that each one of us is living our lives by example. That when we choose to look at our experience of trauma, when we choose to commit to healing our trauma, we serve by example. We demonstrate to others that this work can be done. We demonstrate to others that joy is possible. So I want to remind you all of the affirmation that we all spoke together at the top of service. As I fall upward into greater awareness of unity and oneness, I embody divine intention and loving consciousness. Life is good and I am grateful. That concept of falling upward into a greater awareness of unity and oneness is not easy. We say it like it's something that we could just do. And the purpose of the affirmation is to remind us, because as we live out in the world, There are very few television shows that are reminding us to live from a place of unity and oneness. This is what we need our Sunday services for. This is why we tithe to spiritual organizations, is because we get to come here to be reminded of the fact that we are all one people, and that our decision to heal ourselves inspires others to do the same. Our decision to honor each other inspires others to do the same. So as we commit to embodying divine intention and loving consciousness, we are experiencing the goodness of life. We are looking at every single challenge, looking at the global pandemic that we are currently participating in right now as an opportunity to lean into this idea of unity and oneness, knowing that the decisions that we make to keep our community safe, to keep ourselves healthy, inspires others to do the same. And what that looks like isn't beating each other up on Facebook, is not criticizing each other for wearing masks or for not wearing masks. It's not for calling each other sheep or, criticizing each other for how we choose to vote. It's recognizing that when we are all one, the most powerful way, I don't like to say best, the most powerful way that we can inspire a shift in our own lives and the lives of each other is by choosing to live our lives from a place of intention, of choosing love, of choosing peace. I love this powerful meditation that we started with today of peace be still. We were reminded this morning that we cannot experience peace in the world unless we are experiencing it ourselves. And so many of us are looking around the world at each other, asking, who is that one person? Who are those people that are going to inspire us to reach higher and come together as a collective community, that we can heal each other through the traumas that we've gone through as a country, heal the traumas that we've gone through globally through the experience of a pandemic? The answer is each one of you. Each one of you, wherever you are in Seattle, wherever we are residing right now, we are the voices that we have been waiting for. We are what the world has been waiting for. Each one of us is showing up, committing to choose love, to live from a place of unity. We are the examples that the world has been desperate for. And we are not too old, too young, too Black, too weird, too gay, too small. That each one of us, that the power of each one of us creates a shift. Yesterday, I watched a movie called The Power of One about a man in South Africa who taught Black people how to read and write in English at a time where that was being outlawed, which was in 1992. Each one of us has an opportunity to create a shift within our own communities. And it's on us to reach higher, to choose to live with the intention of love from our religion. It's on us to live the affirmations that we speak on Sundays, knowing that we are not going to become brand new people overnight, that the healing journey cannot be completed overnight, that life is a journey, it's not a destination. But each one of us is on our own divine appointments, that our lives have purpose, that we are alive at this point in time for a reason. And so I invite each one of us to reach higher in that experience of love, of living a place of peace, inspiring peace, choosing peace within ourselves so that we can inspire others to do the same. And I invite us to bring this into prayer. And so I invite you all to just get comfortable in your space. Take a moment to settle into the body, bringing attention and awareness to the breath. Recognizing that what the breath is the one part of our body, is the one system in our body that we have choice over. Our heart beats without our permission. Our circulatory system moves without our permission. The digestive system works without our conscious decision. Breath is the only conscious choice, the only system in our bodies that we have choice over. Everything else is divinity itself. It is the spirit itself expressing as life as each one of us. And I know that we are not separate from this experience of life. We are all microbes. 99% of our anatomy is microbes. Only 1% of it is human. 99% of the earth is microbes. We are all microbes. And we are all sharing this experience of life and love and science and truth together in prayer for a specific reason. This is a divine appointment. Spirit has called us here at this time and this moment in history to lean into the truth of who we are, recognizing that what we are is divinity itself, that energy is all there is. So we are energy, and that we have the divine power to consciously choose our relationship to the energy of our life, our energy of our bodies. We can choose to allow ourselves to be breathed by spirit, or we can co-create this experience of life. We can recognize the power, the one power, and also recognize our own power, the power of being one person. Knowing that we are not small, that each one of us was called to this experience of a new thought faith tradition for a reason. Each one of us serves in the way that we do, whether we are in a spiritual leadership capacity, whether it's a volunteer, whether we tithe or consciously give to allowing for this space of love to exist, for this voice of love to be amplified from Seattle and out into the greater ethers across the internet. Each one of us that is showing up actively to participate in the experience of life and choosing to live from a place of love is inspiring a great shift. That the world is forever changed because each one of us has come together for this spiritual experience. Each one of us has come together to acknowledge that being religious about being dedicated to love, religiously dedicated to peace, religiously dedicated to serving as the change that we wish to see in the world, allows for that shift that we do wish to see in the world. We get to experience life from a greater place of love because each one of us individually is making that choice for ourselves. So I am so grateful that each one of us has come together for this experience today, and grateful for each person who was experiencing this at a later time, maybe watching it again or engaging this experience alone, watching it on Facebook, wherever we are. However we are experiencing this prayer right now, I know that it is a divine appointment. And I am so grateful to participate in this experience of divinity, grateful to know that a great shift is taking place in the world, that more love, more peace, more joy is being experienced because so many hearts and minds right now are making that choice individually. So many of us are leaning into our intention of recognizing the oneness of life, living from peace, choosing love, choosing joy. So I am so grateful for these choices, grateful for the shift that is taking place across the universe right now. And with gratitude, I invite us to affirm this word by closing prayer however we are most comfortable. I choose to affirm this by saying, and so it is. Namaste. Thank you so much for having me.
I am willing to open my heart change I wish to see. And I know that it's all love, 'cause I am willing to listen to the still small voice in me. I am willing to open my mind. I am willing to be the change I wish to see. And I know that it's all good, 'cause I am willing to listen to the still small voice in me. I am willing to open my life. I am willing to be the change I wish to see. And I know that I can trust, 'cause I am willing to listen to the still small voice in me. Yes, I am willing to listen to the still small voice in me.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Reverend Karen. Thank you, Reverend Kit. Thank you for the technology that allows us to have people from all over our country joining us in the celebration here at Unity of Bellevue. Here, everywhere, Unity of Bellevue. While we're reaching higher, this is the time where we dig deeper to support our community for the work that we do, for the ability to bring such wonderful speakers and musicians to join us. In on your screen are the different ways that you can share with your gifts and tithes, and in the consciousness of abundance and the blessings, and remembering that we have so many gifts to share. I invite you to join me in the offering affirmation. I give freely, and for the joy of giving, I know that seeds sown in love produce an overflowing harvest of good for me, for the center, and for all people. Lovingly I give, joyfully I receive, and so it is.
And so I speak a word of blessing on these gifts, on the giver, on the great and mighty works that are done with these gifts. On behalf of Unity of Bellevue, I simply say thank you. I give thanks to the infinite provider and to the intimate provider that our community is. God is good and all is well, and so it is. Amen. Hey, y'all, I want to start today's announcements. You're going to hear from Monica in a second, but I wanted to make sure you all have on your calendar this Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. online. You'll find the link on our launch page on our website to Unity Community Connect. And what we want to do with this series of conversations on the second Tuesday of the month for September, October, November, December is to just begin to engage in a conversation about who we are and what we want to be in this changing environment that Reverend Karen referred to in her message. You know, the world is changing. Even before COVID-19, the environment for spiritual practice, for church, was evolving. And I do think that COVID-19 has pushed us along a little faster than we were perhaps willing to do. And sometimes, you know, sometimes the universe gives us that little shove from behind, right? But so it's actually, we're actually beginning this conversation a little bit late. We want to talk about who are we in this changing environment? What kind of spiritual community do we want to be? How do we want to express as a spiritual community? You know, we've been around for 60 years. We've expressed in pretty much the same delivery system for 60 years. And I think it's time for us to begin to have a conversation about, you know, who are we in this new environment? How do we want to express moving forward? And that's a community discussion. That's not a board decision. That's not a, you know, minister decision. That's a community discussion because, you know, how we are called to express as a spiritual community belongs to all of us. And so we're going to be having that conversation second Tuesday of the month, the next 4 months, and then we will decide how we want to move forward with it in the new year, depending on what comes up in the next 4 months. So please join us Tuesday night, 6:30 to, depending on, you know, how many folks show up and what the conversation is. We will finish by 8 p.m. at the latest, maybe a little bit earlier. And you know, come on out, be heard, share. All right. So Monica, you have some more information for us.
Yes, my name is Monica McDowell Elvig. I'm your center administrator. We welcome you all this morning. If you are visiting with us for the first time, we open our hearts to you. We invite you to consider walking with Unity of Bellevue as we practice, as we move into more expression of our religion of love.
That's right.
We are happy to have you with us, and we ask you to reach out to us. And also, the best way to stay in touch with us, since we are completely online right now, is to go to our website, unityofbellevue.org. At the bottom of every page is a sign-up form for that weekly e-newsletter. It comes out Thursday morning. It has all the news, all the events on it. We look forward to hearing from you. This Sunday after service is our virtual prayer circle. It is in a breakout room. It is confidential. Susan Neidig and Lori Coleman will be leading us through that. So if you have any prayer requests, or if you would just like to pray with others, join us. We'll take a 3-minute break and they will start. You can also email any prayer requests to them at prayerchaplains@unityofbellevue.org. If you would like one of them to call you, to pray with you, or to talk with you, please put that in your message. This Wednesday is Living What Matters at 1 p.m. Every Wednesday at 1 p.m. is a free drop-in group for you to learn a new spiritual practice. We're making our way through the Book of Soul by Mark Nepo, so join us for that. Also, classes are on. All of the links for everything are in the chat and in the comments on Facebook. We have new classes starting. The first one coming up is The Gifts of Imperfection, based on Brene Brown's book. That starts on Wednesday, September 29th. That is a great class, a great book. And so sign up for that. You can also test out the first class. If you just want to sign up and just test it out for free and just see if it's the class for you, you can register for that and select that in the payment option. We also have a membership class coming up in November, so look at that as well. Have a great week, everybody. Blessings.
Hey, everyone. I echo Monica's Monica's words, have a great week. Listen to this last song from Kit Holmes and allow it to lift you and inspire you into this coming week. Join me on Wednesday for Living What Matters, 1 o'clock. So easy to just show up and participate. Think about a class, and definitely join me on Tuesday night for our Unity Community Connect as we talk about our future as a spiritual community. All right, beloveds, have a great week. I'm grateful for you all.
When it feels like I'm going without, I'm going within. When it feels like I can't go on, I know it's time to begin. To remember the good things you've given to me. Life, love, health, prosperity. All I do is say thank you. And I am free. Yeah, I lift up my voice and I sing with you by my side. I can conquer anything for your love and all the joy you bring. I lift up my voice, I lift up my voice, and I sing. When it feels like nothing's going my way, I'm going with you. When it feels like I don't know what to say, you know just what to do. 'Cause you are my source and my supply. You're always there to help me get by. With you I spread my wings, or watch me fly. I lift up my voice and I sing with you by my side. I could conquer anything for your love and all the joy you bring. I lift up my voice, lift up my voice.
Hold on to me, don't let me go. Who cares what they see? Who cares what they know? Your first name is free, last name is dumb. Just choose to believe in where we are from. Man's red flower is in every living thing. Mind, choose your power. Spirit, use your wings. Freedom, 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 freedom. La 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 la. Hold on to me, don't let me go. Cheetahs need to eat, run antelope. Your first name is King, last name is Dumb, 'cause you still believe in everyone. Baby first breathes when nights see sunrise. Will hunts the sea when man recognizes freedom, 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 freedom. La 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 la. Freedom, breathe in, freedom, freedom. We are from heat, electric wonder. This shock you to see. Left us the sun, atoms in the air, organisms in the sea. The sun and yes man, we're all on the same thing. Freedom.